I'm Myke Shrews.
I'm Tivis.
And you're listening to
The Munster Cast.
Episode 7. Again, everybody, welcome back. I am Myke Shrews here with my co-host Tivis, and you're listening to The Munster Cast. Uh-oh, I saw a weird look.
Yep.
Cat already in your face. Anyways, The Munster Cast, this is the podcast, I should say, where we discuss, talk, and watch everything Munsters related. And right now we are going through the 1964 version of the Munsters first, of course, the best version, most likely. So without further ado, let's get to our thoughts on episodes 12 and 13 today.
Yeah, the first episode we're going to talk about is the Sleeping Cutie, season 1, episode 12, aired December 10th, 1964. Please don't spill my eggnog. I'm in the festive season. This was written by James A. Allardyce, I think, Tom Adair, and Norm Liebman. Directed by Norman Abbott again. So, some familiar names by now.
Yeah. Awesome, man. And just so people know, Tivis is just like struggling with a cat, like walking right in front of his microphone.
She never comes up to visit. So I feel like I need to give her attention. She's 11 now.
Oh, yeah. All right. So episode 12, The Sleeping Cutie, as Tivis said, December 10th, 1964. Synopsis. In an attempt to cure Marilyn of insomnia, Grandpa accidentally gives her a sleeping beauty potion, and she now cannot wake up until she is kissed by a prince. I don't know if... Would you consider that the synopsis for the episode? Yeah. There's a couple storylines going on, so...
Yeah. I mean, we open with Herman being outraged at Grandpa for, quote, downright murder. That might have been my quote. I don't remember him saying that. I have it in quotations, though.
Yeah. No, so we open up, and he's like trying... He wants to put water...
That's right. He was going to murder the monster coach.
Yeah, he's going to murder the coach.
Which, could be anything with Grandpa.
Right. And so Grandpa wants to use this new invention he made to turn water into gasoline, which
with a
is
pill.
Actually like a thing that lots of people are always constantly trying to do, apparently. I'm like, well, we need more water than gasoline now, so can we work on that?
Please don't.
Uh-oh.
Looks like she's going to try to jump in my lap again.
But yeah, so Grandpa does it to the coach. This is all before the opening credits, too. And actually, an experiment worked perfectly.
Well, they also mentioned that Grandpa created athlete's foot, which calms Herman down.
Yeah.
It starts spewing out bubbles. And by the way, remember a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, when I read that factoid that Herman never drives the car? Whoever wrote that, fuck you.
Yeah. I was thinking that as soon as I saw this, I was like, Herman's in the driver's seat right now.
Yes, he is.
His knees are jammed up, and he's actually sitting further back too. Generally,
he takes off around the block.
Yeah. He blasts around the block in like 2 seconds. He's like, I just drove around the entire block. So not only did Grandpa turn water into gasoline, he also made it like super fuel.
Yeah. It starts driving around like the Addams family's car.
Yeah. So moving on, then we get the credits.
Yeah. And then we come back to her grandpa writing a letter to the gas company to sell his product. And Herman makes the comment to stop writing crank letters to Dear Abby.
Yeah. And we get Marilyn shows up and she's just super sleepy. They make a reference to the bags under her eyes as to her looking better.
Yeah, it's an improvement.
It's an improvement on her, which again, they just keep dissing this poor girl on her looks because she doesn't look like them.
Oh, yeah. Lily talks about carpeting the dungeon wall to wall with moss and getting new lightning rods for the roof.
Mm-hmm. And okay, so there's two storylines going on in this episode then.
Yeah, both of them are revolving Grandpa, and
yeah,
it goes exactly how you think it will.
Perfect.
From the synopsis, even.
So Grandpa is doing the story arc with the gas company, turning the water into gas pill. It's a pill, apparently, because we go to the gas
giant ass pill too.
Yeah. And the guy
Grandpa offers to help Marilyn.
Yes.
And then we get switched to the gas company where they think that it's a farce. You know, this guy, he throws a match into the gasoline and it waits a bit before it explodes. That is not how gasoline works. Anyone who does not know, gasoline's fumes are what is flammable.
You could say though that it's water gasoline, so we don't know the properties to that.
But chemical reaction. Saying that's why you can't smoke at a gas station. Just because the gas isn't coming out of your vehicle, the fumes are. You will ignite.
And
I'm tired of seeing people doing this. It's also why you should turn your freaking car off. But I'm going on a rant. So,
but yeah, before they even do the match throw, it's literally like this big old like honking like pill that they just have in water, and then it deteriorates and turns into or bubbles up into gasoline. And the guy's like, "Here, smell." And the guy was like, "Yeah, they all do that. They all smell like it." I'm like, how many people have done that? Especially to the oil companies. That was my biggest thing, like the whole time watching it until, of course, the end. I was like, why are the oil companies interested in this? This is going to put them out of business. And then, of course, the ending of this episode, you get why. So, so they actually make an offer to meet with Grandpa.
They send a representative.
Yes.
So we don't get his name just yet.
Yeah.
But
at the same time, Grandpa's still trying to help Marilyn with her sleeping problem.
Yeah. And he knows the person who invented rabies.
Yeah, they know everybody in this episode.
So we cut back to Herman and Grandpa talking in the lab or the dungeon. Apparently that's what it's called now as well. Marilyn comes down, hey, you got that sleeping or the cure for my insomnia?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, sure. It's one of these. He's like messing around with all these different poets. He doesn't know what to this is why labels are important.
They kind of set him up in this episode and then another episode that too, that he kind of is like dementia almost. He's like,
I just got the feeling that he's too like scattered around.
Maybe. Okay.
But he tries hypnotizing her at first.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So the potion comes later. He tries hypnotizing first. Instead, he hypnotizes Herman.
Mm-hmm. And he falls asleep.
Yeah, and that's when Grandpa decides to make the sleeping potion.
Yeah.
As Lily comes down saying that the gas company is sending someone to talk to him. and that Herman needs to get off the ground because she tries to keep it not so messy.
Yeah. But this is also where we find out that Grandpa's going to be working on the gas pill
At the
and
same time.
sleeping potion at the same time.
And we get his potion book again, which isn't voice controlled anymore.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think about that one. Maybe that would have stopped the whole episode, Tivis.
Well, last time he almost poisoned someone, so
right. So then we get there's not really a massive a lot in here.
Lily mentions, are you sure you can do both of these things at once? I have the exact quote here. Don't tell a mad scientist how to run his business.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of interesting quotes in here too that will come up I'll bring up when we get to the part. So you're gonna have to walk me through this a little bit with this one. So with after the lab part. I did want to say they show a lot more of the lab in this episode, a lot more like scenes that we haven't seen so far. And this is episode 12, so we've seen a decent amount of it already. So it was nice to see like a different corner of the lab where Grandpa keeps something else or shit like that. And they did a really good job of incorporating a chem lab, I guess, into his like laboratory. And so I really like the set design with this one for sure.
After this, we cut to Herman and Lily sitting in the living room hearing explosions from the lab again, which is similar to what we saw with the Bills episode.
Yeah. And
Marilyn comes down and scares Grandpa, who is looking for a specific beaker, and he drops it. He also mentions that she almost scared him out of his skin, and it's such a pain to get back in. That's a horrifying thought.
Is Lord Zed.
So here's where we get him figuring out what potion is what. And I have here my exact thoughts where Marilyn needs to run. Because
you didn't remember which one was, Yeah,
he gives it to her and she just passes right out.
Yeah.
And he puts her to bed in the lab, which I'm like, you were just having a bunch of explosions. Are you sure you want her to sleep down there?
It seems whenever Grandpa does any experiments on anyone, they have to sleep in the lab. It's like a prerequisite for the experiments.
Which is funny because Lily was like, don't sleep down here. You're.
I think she just meant on the floor. She didn't want him to get the floor,
Yeah, all right. That's fair.
Because we've seen them sleep down there in the past. Or at least try to. So then we find out that is this when we find out that he gave her the wrong potion?
Yeah, Herman walks into the kitchen, happy as can be after some time. I don't know if this is breakfast or dinner with these people.
It was like one of their meals, and Eddie, or they send Eddie to go wake up Marilyn to come to eat.
Which, speaking of Eddie, he leaves an empty can of pet food for the dragon that Herman gets mad about, which has no relation to anything going on in this, but it's worth pointing out.
Yeah. Well, it's attention to detail for the world that they've built already, that they're just, they keep bringing up these small little details. If you have a dog in your TV show and you don't reference something with the dog every so often, people are going to forget about that dog.
Where do they get the giant can of dragon food, though?
The old country.
They get it imported. I don't even want to know how the process of that is back before the internet.
Well, they didn't have the delays on importation that we have right now, so we're good.
True. What is with Grandpa sipping his breakfast through a straw? That bothered me for some reason.
Was it supposed to be blood?
I don't know. It looked like really mushy oatmeal.
Maybe just I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe that's just how he's used to drinking, like that, like sucking it up. So that's just how he's used to eating.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know. It was weird. So this is where Eddie calls up. Marilyn won't wake up. The family freak out. They find out that Grandpa gave her a sleeping beauty potion. Which, why do you have that just laying around? And that she can only be awoken by a kiss from a prince.
Right. At least they didn't say true love's kiss. At least they didn't do that one.
Yeah,
just a prince from a kiss from a prince, and they put one other stipulation on there. I forget what it was.
A handsome prince.
Yes, that's what it was.
So at this point, the gas company guy arrives. So Lily goes to meet him while everyone else tries to figure out how to fix Meryl. That she opens the door, and anyone who has seen the show Scrubs or any other show where you get the woman with the slow-mo, really good looking girl shot introduction, you get that with this guy. So, he's a handsome fella.
Yeah.
Lily tells him, come back later. We got a domestic crisis going on. I have to get back to the dungeon.
The what?
Herman tells Grandpa to get rid of the Sleeping Beauty formula. So he grabs a random piece of paper that he has trouble reading and burns it. Turns out to be the gas formula.
Yeah. Just funny.
Herman is pissed.
And then they go back then. This is them when they go back to the gas company.
Yep.
Guy calls in, or maybe I think he showed back up. I forget.
I think he showed back up in this one.
And the guy was like, look, I don't care. You go there and you get it, or else you're not getting like your promotion or whatever it is.
Yeah, he offers him the vice presidency of the company if he gets it signed.
Yeah. And so then the guy ends up having to go back. But before that happens, they're looking for a prince. And apparently...
they put an ad in the paper.
Grandpa was looking at frogs. He was kissing the frogs to see if they would turn to princes and shit like that.
But they're not like they are in Transylvania.
Right. These frogs are outdated. They're the made in China version of the frogs or something. I don't know. So he starts going at Herman. He's like, well, what are you doing? He's like, well, me and Lily have gone a more modern route. And he's
we did the sensible thing.
Yeah, the sensible thing. And he's like, oh, what'd you do? Put what did he say? He said something. And then Herman's like, well, no, we put an ad in the paper, in the classifieds.
I forget exactly what he said. And Grandpa's like, you have better luck buying more frogs.
Right. So then we go upstairs, and then there's these two dudes just chilling out there. Like Lily comes downstairs actually, and says that
they have two applicants are there.
Yes, two applicants are there. Eddie was the one who brought them in. That's what it was. And we go to those guys, and they're just talking shop with each other. Apparently they're actors, and they think it was a casting call.
Yeah, their agents sent them.
Yeah.
They ask her a bunch of questions. What's my motivation? What's the salary? And then they're like, well, can we have tryouts? And Lily likes the idea of that. So she calls Herman up. And
Herman's bringing he brings up Marilyn. He carries up Marilyn.
So Frankenstein brings up an unconscious girl to these two people who think this is an acting role. They start realizing this isn't an acting role. And they do what any normal person would do.
Bolt,
run for the door.
Yeah. Then this is when we get gas company guy shows back up.
Well, before that, we get another shot at Marilyn's looks because Herman says that she has the handicap that they should have warned people about.
I wrote that down. I was like, wait, so now her looks are a handicap?
I honestly, at this point, I wrote down my thoughts. Have they literally no memory of anyone else living around them and how they look like Marilyn?
Yeah. Because they keep saying, well, did you let them know? It wasn't Herman. Herman didn't think it was him that scared him away. He's like, it must have been Marilyn. Did you not let them know of her handicap? It's like, what are we doing with the handicap thing? I guess looks and stuff don't matter as long as you're not beautiful.
So this is where the gas lackey guy shows back up, and Spot greets him, who Lily tells him to back off. He thinks it's the new milkman who is buried in their backyard.
I realized in this episode too, they did a lot more of the before we get to the close of this one, because this one's almost up, but in this episode, they went back to that formula of doing a lot more of the jokes about, oh, we're dead, basically.
Yeah.
They did a lot more of those in this episode than in the last few that we had seen. So I noticed that. I was like, oh, so they went back to that formula. I was wondering if there was a difference in the writer or not. But it doesn't seem like there was.
I don't know. I have to go back and look.
Yeah.
But the gas lackey produces his card. You just see Herman's hand come out from behind the door and grab it. And he's like, the hell was that?
Yeah. And then Lily's trying to shoo him off. And then Herman's like, oh no, come in. Like he grabs him and brings him in. He's like, is that Spot? It's like, oh no, that's my husband. Spot's an animal. And then Lily goes at Herman like, why did you invite him in? I didn't want him in. Almost like card. Almost like he's a freaking vampire. Like, why'd you invite him in? Don't invite him in. Now we can't get him out.
She knows about vampires, you know?
Right.
So we find out his name is Richard A. Prince, or as he's credited, Dick Prince. I see the joke that the crew was going for.
Yeah.
So they have their handsome prince or a prince. They don't think he's very handsome.
Apparently, though, he does have like royal blood from a timeline before within him. So that's a bonus, at least.
Yeah, they invite him in and start feeding him a bunch of sweets, and he makes the joke about them fattening him up before they eat him, and then he looks at Eddie like, "Are you going to kill me?"
Yeah.
Grandpa's ready to sell his formula, but doesn't mention if he remembered it or not. But he says the one condition Richard must kiss the youngest member of the family. He looks at Eddie again. He's like, no, youngest woman or youngest female.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
They had to specify the gender because it was like even I was like, why did you say the youngest? Like,
he looks at it, he's like, is this worth it?
Right.
He's like, oh, she's down in the dungeon. What?
And that's when Herman says again, she's the most she's the worst off of us all.
She's the uglier. She's uglier than the rest of them.
Yeah, she's the ugly duckling of the family. And
Richard looks less than pleased.
Yeah, he's like, wait, she's worse than you guys? Like, so then they go down to the dungeon where Marilyn is lying on the table.
Yep. Igor makes his appearance and tries to eat Richard. Is there anything in the house that's not going to eat him?
I swear Igor is probably just one of Grandpa's buddies that just can't get out of bat form.
Probably. Like the college roommate that never left.
So like the first second that
or uni for
Dick
those in
Prince.
Europe.
Prince Dick sees
Dick Prince.
Dick Prince sees the
Sleeping Maryland.
the Maryland. He like almost instantly falls in love like with her beauty and stuff like that.
It becomes, the typical, Disney princess story.
Yeah.
He makes a comment like, "That's the ugly duckling," or something like that. And so yeah, he kisses her, forgets what he's there to do, and begins kissing her more.
Mm.
So everyone's
they
like,
were like really kissing, bro. I was like, this has got to be uncomfortable.
This is, how old is Marilyn supposed to be again? Because they make mention that she's still in school.
She's in college.
Is she in college? Okay.
Yeah. I believe she's in college.
All right, that makes it less
she's
strange.
Supposed to be like in her early 20s, possibly.
Well, that makes the next episode a bit confusing with their verbiage, but we'll get to that. So yeah, they go back to the living room, I believe, or the parlor, or whatever the fuck you call it, in the giant mansion. I don't know. I don't live in one.
It's like I don't even know which room that was.
It's a living room.
Was it the living room?
For normal people. It's got a couch and everything and a fireplace. But so they're like, I'll give you, 50,000 to not sell it. And Grandpa's like, I would, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Herman's like, we can't take that money. Why not, Herman? Why not?
I don't understand why either. But he does say, well, he helped save Maryland. That was payment enough, basically.
He was going to do that willingly.
Right.
In fact, they go out on a date after this.
Yeah. I'm not sure why they I don't know why he wouldn't take the money, because he says, well, Grandpa will even sign it, even though he lost the formula. So that means if Grandpa creates the formula again,
he can't sell it.
He can't sell it, which kind of sucks for Grandpa.
Yeah.
Grandpa's there just trying to take care of the house and the family and the cash and all that. But no, Herman has to be all righteous and stuff.
So as Richard escorts Marilyn out, he throws them the keys to the coach.
Yep.
And we close out with a nice little scene between Lily and Herman again, which I like how they end it with these two a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that you got to end it with the main two. I mean, without them, there is no Munster family.
And
so, yeah.
What are your thoughts on this one?
Let's just say I wasn't expecting a Sleeping Beauty thing going on with this. I thought, like something would have happened with the gasoline and going into Maryland or something. And, because of the way they had set it up, I was like, okay. When they revealed the Sleeping Beauty thing, I was interested to see where it would go, so it kept me engaged for sure. But as a full episode and everything, it wasn't bad. It wasn't like my best episode.
Yeah, that's where it would fall for me as well. Hey, we had my cat, now we got Mike's dog. It just falls in by 3 point, good, okay, didn't enjoy it scale. This would just be okay.
Yeah, I agree. So you got any extra input on this episode for us?
Yeah, the guest list include Grant Williams as Dick Prince.
That's who that was?
Yeah, he went on to win to be in the Hugo Award winning The Incredible Shrinking Man, or was in that, I should say, before this. That was 1957. Gavin McLeod as Paul Newmar, who this is a guy that a lot of people will recognize. He was in, he was Smitty on the 70s show, Uncle Stu on King of Queens, and Mr. Ellsworth on Wonder Woman. So he's been in a lot of things that I'm sure people have seen him.
Who the heck is Smitty from that 70s show?
He was like a one-off appearance.
What was his name? The actor's name?
Gavin McLeod.
Okay.
MACLEOD. We also had John Hoyt as George Spelvin, who was Prefect Barlow in the Planet of the Apes TV series.
Mm-hmm.
Professor Gordon. Nope, I'm not going to read that one. Dr. Philip Boyce in Star Trek TV, the original TV series.
Now I'm curious which one you didn't read.
I was saving this one for a joke for us, but he was Professor Gordon in the porno Flesh Gordon.
Flesh Gordon.
Yeah, I saw that and got a chuckle. I thought I'd share that. I didn't know if it'd be appropriate for the cast or not, but there it is. And also Walter Wolf King as Mr. Hadley, who was George Washington in the Monster Masquerade.
Okay.
So I did some money conversion. 50,000 in 2021 would be about $442,435.
So Herman just fucked him. Okay, cool.
Yeah. The title is a play on Sleeping Beauty. Yep. And Lily mentions that someday my prince may come, which is from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So they were just taking anything from fairy tale stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like it. Yeah. All right. Cool, man. So you want to move on to the next episode?
Yeah. And I don't know if you noticed, I found it.
Oh, your DVD set. Yes.
I watched this one and then I started this one in black and white. And I'm like, wait, we're supposed to watch the colored version. So I went to go look in a box in the other room and there it was.
Awesome. Yeah. So we're watching what, Tivis? Or we watched what, I should say.
Season 1, episode. That can't be right. I have 17. This is episode 13. Episode 13, Family Portrait.
Yes.
Which is the final appearance of Beverly Owen as Meryl. Mm-hmm. It aired December 17th, 1964. That's probably where I got the 17 from. Written by Lawrence Dobkin. Nope, I have these backwards. Written by James B. Alderdice, Tom Adrian, and Norm Liebman. Directed by Lawrence Dobkin.
Okay.
I just have this all messed up.
Boo, no. All right, so Family Portrait, which is again the episode that they do have on the DVD set, guys. If you have that in color, they have a colored version of it. They also have the black and white, but it's also in color too. So
it was a bit jarring to watch this in color, I gotta say.
Really? Well, let me read the synopsis real quick, then we'll talk about it because I have some things too on it. The Family Portrait, December 17th, 1964. The Munsters have been chosen by Event Magazine as the average American family. Insulted by being labeled average, Grandpa disappears, jeopardizing the photo opportunity and the prize money that accompanies it. All right. Let's dive into this colored version of the Munsters Family Portrait. I should have watched both versions to give that, but I only watched the colored version. So apologies for that, guys. I probably will
the same
watch it
thing
in black and white though.
So we open up at Event Magazine. I love how creative some of this stuff is. Where a guy is reading this thing that he sent to the Munsters for being the typical average American family contest winner or something like that.
Which, how did they get into the contest is what my question. Did they actually do it? You know,
it might have been from the census. When did the census start? It was before the 1960s, right?
Oh yeah.
All right.
I believe so.
So maybe they just, I don't know. But we move from that to Lily fixing up the arm to Herman's suit.
Oh no! His first census was. Oh yeah. That's 1790. I thought it said 1990.
Okay.
Yeah, 1790 was the first census.
I know it was before 1990. I was there.
August 2nd, 1790 was the first census in the United States. There we go.
So maybe
now we learned something. See, we can
maybe
give
they took some information from that. I don't know.
Maybe.
The government's not great at keeping stuff.
But they're all way too old. I mean, if they were on the census for each year, then, there'd be some questions. The old country ain't going to keep them alive.
Yeah, you're expecting the government to actually pay attention as well. That's another thing they're not great at. So during this, Herman breaks yet another mirror.
Well, first of all, we get to see, this is the first time we see the Munsters in color.
Yeah, just Lily and Herman for now.
So many greens already within this. Like, I've seen other colored images of them, and usually it's like a lot more blues and stuff. But with this one, like almost all the actors had green within their face. So it was interesting to see that because they had to use different shades and stuff like that for the black and white. So I'm wondering.
Yeah.
I'm curious, did they shoot this in color or did they shoot this in black and white and then have it colorized? Do you recall?
No, I do not.
Okay. Because that would be interesting to know if it was just colorized or if these are the actual specific colors that were there. Because I was also under the assumption and told that the walls in their house used to be all pink. Everything, all the stuff to get the right tint on the black and white version. So this
article I'm reading here, they're claiming it is the first digitally colorized version of a Munsters episode. So
okay, so it was a read. Okay, so they didn't actually shoot it in color. Awesome. I was just curious about that and seeing, it makes sense for them to do the family portrait episode though, like that. So
yeah, it's we'll get to it at the end, but this whole episode seems like it was written to be a send off for Beverly Owen. Yeah.
So when and who I forget because I just wrote down the comment. Somebody says something about royal blood. Or the royal family. It says America, no one cares of royal blood. Funny.
Yeah, that's Grandpa. We'll get to that.
Yeah, okay. So when we get to that, let me know.
All right. We get the last time we're going to see this specific intro and for the first time in color. I was expecting the wording to be in green. I always envisioned that, but they colored it red for some reason, and I didn't care for that.
Probably because there were more greens in the video already. So maybe that's why they went red.
See, I was always picturing like the Goosebumps logo type thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even on the DVD, when you open it up to the main screen, the Munsters is in green,
Yeah. How do you feel about recoloring black and white? So I know we have some mutual friends who are not or less than thrilled by it.
I guess it just depends. Like for this older stuff, I mean, they had no choice but to go black and white.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like a creative decision or like an artistic choice, it was, this is what we got and we're working with it, whereas like say the movie The Lighthouse was 100% creative choice from the creator and stuff like that I wouldn't want to see in color. But this older stuff, why not give it a shot? Some of it could I don't think it's going to benefit the product either way for this older stuff. But I mean, if you want to see some of the stuff in color, it's kind of cool. It's like seeing like old pictures transformed into color,
Yeah.
So.
I don't mind it. Even for like The Lighthouse, it's what the movie exists.
If you're never going to watch The Lighthouse, chill out.
No, I'm not. But I'm just saying that the director's version exists.
Yeah.
If somebody decides to take it and use their skill to color over it, that's that's an option. You don't have to take that option. But
Yeah.
I'm in a Facebook group for Doctor Who recolorizations for the early seasons of the show.
Yeah.
Before the BBC mandate in the 60s that everything went color. And it's honestly an extremely, like, it's a skill that not everyone has. And it's incredible to see like some of the same scenes by different people, how they approach it. And I don't want to spend too much time on this because this is more like a topic for our other show that we do.
Yeah.
But I just thought we'd take a second and like, I think it is a cool artistic talent to truly make it look good.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of people that can make it look cool and look good. And like I said though, but for some things, I'm just like, I don't really care. I mean, I'm not gonna be that guy on the internet that's pissed off about it, you know? Like, oh man,
who wants to be that
ruined what was it? Give me the movie. No, well, you'll always hear that they ruined that. Or
I don't know any others that weren't like offered in color, like Logan.
Oh, Logan was done in
Mad
black
Max.
and white, wasn't it? Yeah, that's right. Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League. I think they did a black and white cut, right? I don't remember.
I don't know. I refuse to acknowledge it.
But yeah, I'm not gonna freak out over like older stuff that didn't even have the opportunity to be done in black or in color. I might not watch it because I'm just like, yeah, I don't want to see that version, but I'm not gonna freak out on the internet like some people, especially some people we know. But yeah, let's dive back into this episode of the family portrait because this was done in color. And I have some issues with the color stuff in this because I do find some of it to be detrimental at times in this episode. Oh,
I had a sneeze that disappeared. I hate that. Yeah, so we got Herman coming in saying we got a reporter and a photographer that will arrive by the weekend. And Lily is sprucing up the house. I don't know what the hell she's doing.
She's putting new curtains.
Oh, that's what she was doing.
Yeah, she was ripping the fabric to make it all tattered and shit. To put new curtains in the guest room because the photographers are going to be sleeping at the house too. They're supposed to be there for like a couple days to do a photo shoot for them.
Yeah.
But then we go to the actual event magazine place, and
before that, we got Herman telling Meryl that she needs to go get more presentable.
Oh yeah. But we're at the event magazine place where the one guy just wants to do a wholesome family shoot, the photographer, but then the writer wants to do like this whole gag of like a really cool story, like, you know, a parody basically.
Yeah. Well, he wants to, the reporter wants to go report on like wars and stuff.
Yeah.
But before that happens, we actually have that scene with Grandpa that you were talking about. Yeah, my cat is back too. Grandpa is having a fit about being called average. He's got royal blood running through him, which he never says that it's his.
Well, Prince doesn't show back up in this episode, so there's the royal blood.
Yeah, he's like, I'm leaving, and Herman's like, the hell you are. And he goes, no, I'm out. He like poofs in the smoke and it's gone. Yeah. And this is where we learn the criteria for it. They need to have 2 children, which is where I got confused with Meryl's age, an elderly person, a pet, and a bird.
I mean, wouldn't a bird be a pet though? Like,
that's what I thought too. To which the Raven thought they talked about him, but Herman meant Igor.
Yeah. He's kind of fucked up. He's like, yeah, no, we're talking about Igor, not you. He's really mean to that bird, dude. Like,
no one likes this bird, I've realized.
It's crazy.
Which who could blame him? I'm not a fan of Edgar either.
You know why
Lily,
his name's Edgar, right?
What's that?
You know why his name's Edgar, right?
I don't know if that's the bird's name or not. I was talking about Poe.
Oh, Edgar Allan Poe.
I don't know if the bird is ever named.
Is the bird's name Edgar? Because that would be awesome.
I don't know. It would make sense if it was. I think he's just called the Raven in credits. When he gets credited, it's not very often.
Okay.
So Lily mentions that she once died for some reason. Herman decides to go down to the lab to talk to Grandpa, who insults Herman for being made average. Grandpa wants to turn himself into a bone and bury himself in the yard again. And Herman goes, the last time you did that, the neighbor's dog took you, and it was a pain to get you back.
Yeah.
So Grandpa promises he won't leave the house in a very sneaky way. So that's when we jump back to the Event Magazine editor telling the two, and the photographer tells the reporter, just shut up and deal with it. It's nice to get wholesome stuff.
Yeah.
So Herman begins yelling down the trapdoor for Grandpa, who doesn't answer. And they conclude that Grandpa must have left the house after the Raven snitches on him. And it's no wonder no one likes this Raven.
He's a total snitch.
Oh, yeah.
And then the Raven, doesn't he have a leather or something?
Yeah, he's got a note that says Grandpa and Igor are leaving, and the note is to Mr. and Mrs. Average.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. Yep. Okay. And then because of this, Herman gets pissed off.
Yeah, because it turns out there's a prize money for this that they're going to use for a vacation on the Dead Sea.
$5,000.
Yeah.
Correct?
I'd be mad too. Why didn't anyone tell Grandpa?
How are okay. How are they always offered so much damn money? Like in today's time, $5,000 would be kind of like a cash prize. Cool. Awesome.
I have the exact amount it's worth.
But to them, what is the exact amount for $5,000?
$44,244.
See, that's ridiculous. Like it's like they made this show to compensate for the future, like for inflation and all that shit. Like they made it so it's like, oh no, $5,000, that's not much to us.
Is it safe to say that the Munsters might be in the 1%?
They're that 1% that feeds off of free money too. Herman Munster goes to jail in the last episode for tax evasion.
This isn't Seinfeld. Herman tells Meryl to stay there, and him and Lily are going to go look for Grandpa, which happens to be when the two magazine dudes arrive.
Yeah.
And of course, they're greeted by Meryl, who is the only normal looking person of the house. So they're a bit weirded out by the decorations, but the reporter apparently is a little creep and will not leave Meryl's side.
Yeah, I wrote some notes down about that dude too. I was like, he's very pushy.
He's rapey.
And he thinks he's very like the hot stud type character.
Yeah.
There's one point where she's like, all right, well, I'm going to go to bed. And he like goes in to like kiss her.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
She
what
blocks it with her teacup.
I'm really glad that she didn't like even flirt back with this guy to really push him, like to show this dude's a freaking creep, bro.
Right. Oh, Beverly did an amazing acting job because it was like on her face that she's annoyed, but also because she's a monster, she's overly polite.
Yeah. And there was a spot that happened before, right after we find out Grandpa dipped, I wanted to talk about. Herman like slams down on something and the chair goes up and off.
He sends something like a footstool through the ceiling.
This is where I find the detriment to the colored version of this. You actually
noticed it too. Yep.
And there's another spot later too where they're going and looking for Grandpa. When they go into a diner and stuff, you actually see all these strings showing up. So I feel the colored version kind of doesn't hide that as well as the black and white does, because they're black strings and they can hide them a lot easier.
Yeah, I have that in my notes too. I totally skimmed over it.
Yeah, so I was that's another thing. Like when you asked, about the colorization, it just is going to depend on the product. So yeah.
So while the reporter is hitting on Meryl, the photographer is left alone in the hallway, to which Eddie just pops out of the wall by the stairs.
Yeah.
And go off like, if he's going to do this a couple more times, Eddie is doing this on purpose, isn't he?
Oh, I totally believe it. Yes.
So we get, I was going to say Herman is exiting the car, to which he just drove again this episode, 2 episodes in a row. Herman in the driver's seat. Whoever said that, you lied to me and you made me look foolish.
Well, you are a fool.
I am a fool, but it's fine.
Don't believe the internet, Tivis. All right, so let's dive through this episode again. Again, there was the spot where they did say, America, no one cares of royal blood, which I find hilarious because that's all we give a crap about is the royal family in America for some reason. And I'm not sure why.
Not lately.
Well, I mean, it depends when they have the next wedding.
Yeah, then we go all British again.
And another quick note I had from the beginning of this episode, Herman's eyes in eye wrinkles in color, you really see those. I didn't notice that before in black and white.
Oh yeah.
So again, I don't know if that would be a detriment or an improvement onto the character design, because it felt somewhat distracting to me. But yeah.
Yeah, because we get a good look at it. And while they're out looking for Grandpa, they stop at a restaurant where he goes and peers through the window and scares everyone out of the building.
And that's like, another scene where you see a lot more string work too, unfortunately.
Yeah. He goes, the place was empty. They must have terrible food.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is when Herman and Lily are running around just looking for Grandpa.
And they mention how he likes the damp earth in the sewer, which,
yeah.
It's a sewer. Also, someone's talking to him. Who lives in the sewer?
I don't know. Loch Ness Monster? No.
At first, I thought it was Grandpa, but then he's like, "Oh no, sorry for bothering you."
Yeah. It could be several different creatures. I'm sure we'll find more monsters and shit in the show as we go along.
And the last stop we see is them going to the park because Grandpa feeds the wolves.
Yeah,
and that's where we leave Herman and Lily.
The funny thing is, though, you see everybody freaking out from these two going to these spots, but it's like these are where Grandpa goes all the time. Mm-hmm. Don't you think these people would kind of be more used to seeing a freak in the woods or in the park or whatever, in the restaurant and all that? So, because you can't tell me that Herman's scarier than Grandpa. I guess because he's towering and people always judge books by their cover. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then we go back to the house. This is where the everyone's basically in their rooms already.
Not yet. The photographer is calling the editor on the secret phone that everyone seems to know about.
It's not so.
And he's like, "I want to leave. This place is creepy."
Yeah, he's like, "You get those pictures, or you're fired, or whatever."
Yeah, and Eddie comes once again out of nowhere and goes up the stair.
Yeah,
and this is where I was like, Eddie's really he's messing with this guy on purpose. I love seeing all these hidden doors, though.
Yeah, it's fun to see the different doors when they do these episodes where they're just basically doing walkarounds the house. You really see a lot more of that. So, and there's a shot that they do that I'm I don't know if I like it or not. But it's when everyone's in bed now. And
Grandpa.
Herman and Lily come back. Oh, Grandpa was hanging in the rafters.
He's in the
That's
attic.
right, in the attic
With Igor.
Yeah.
Literally hanging.
We're hiding her out. And they're just like, if we stay still, they won't see us. Like, is he Drax now?
Yeah. And this is where everyone goes to their rooms, and the creepy, rapey reporter wants to kiss Meryl.
Yeah.
Marilyn.
And so they end up going to their rooms, and it's like middle of the night. And this
you
one
get the hallway shot. You talk about that?
That comes out next, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that the one you were talking about though? The one you're not sure?
Yeah. Well,
photographer.
no, there's one that when they're coming down the stairs, I'm not sure of.
Oh, okay.
But there's the one. So the guy gets up in the middle of the night. The one who's the most like worried about the place to get a drink, and he takes a drink, and there's like, is it a giant spider in the bottom of his cup? Is that what that was? Yeah.
So
yeah.
He decides he's going to go leave the room. He opens the door, and it's Grandpa going in the tube that we saw with the night that we saw in the Love Potion episode.
Yeah.
And he's or no, this is before that even.
No,
he calls the reporter. He's like, "What? There's nothing here. The wall's not moving." Yeah. Yeah. This is when the photographer tells the reporter, he's like, "I've seen a little minion running around."
Oh yeah, and this was after he showed the guy that he was drinking.
Yeah, he has a secret shot glass in his binoculars.
Yeah, a little flask binoculars.
Then Herman and Lily come home. Apparently, Herman pulls his tongue out, and it's a mess every time he does, which is another freaky thing to think about with this show. So everyone is now we're at where everyone's in bed finally.
Yeah.
The spider in the drink. He goes into the hallway, sees Herman doing his late night snack run that we've seen before. Oh my God, what the hell was that? So he goes the run to the reporter, wakes him up. There's something weird in the hallway, which you just saw him walking around a corner. You think he's going to be there still? So, naturally the reporter goes to look, nothing there. He goes back to bed. Photographer goes to look again. This time it's Lily trying to figure out if Eddie's in his room. Eddie's like, I can't stay awake. She goes, just leave your eyes open. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's so helpful.
Yeah.
Again, the photographer runs the reporter. He's like, dude, there's something weird in this house. The reporter's like, fine. All right, let's go find it. So we get another scene where people are wandering around the house, not aware of each other, with Herman downstairs, like we did with the Black Widow a couple episodes ago.
Yes. Yeah. And it's they do this shot. So they're coming down the stairs, and we have a shot going almost right through a spider web.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like a perfect spider web too. And in color, it looks like it's just metal. It looks like an old like fan grate. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
And they stay on that shot for a long ass time too. That's the thing that was annoying with me and with this one specific spot is the shot was dumb and it was on way too long. I think they were on that shot for a good minute. And when you're doing like a half-hour show, a minute is a long time for one shot.
Yeah. You got Herman and Lily back in bed together. Lily hears a noise, which this is the second time now. Do they not know they have guests in the house?
No, not yet. They didn't know they came yet.
That's just weird to me that no one would tell them. But Lily goes, I think it's downstairs, and Herman's like, oh, good, it's not up here then.
Yeah.
Like, go deal with it. He's like, what am I going to do? So he goes and grabs a gun, which turns out to be a water gun.
Yeah, and then he squirts the water out to show us that it's a water gun.
Yeah.
And then I have a thing about that later.
Yeah.
So go on. The reporter.
I was going to say the return of the cat.
Yeah. The cat finally showed back up.
I'm shocked this cat is in this show as much as it is.
I mean, it's a black cat. It's got to be around somewhere.
Still.
So the reporter goes back upstairs, and then we finally get everything that breaks loose when he sees Lily, and Lily freaks out and she screams. And the thing is, watching it in color, you could see how this could be horrifying possibly for this person, because it would just look like
a banshee,
like a ghost just standing in the hallway screaming at you almost. And it comes off that way. And I wonder if that's what they were going for or not, because it seems like something that would be in like one of those like new like supernatural things where it's the ghost standing at the end of the hallway and just screaming. The only thing is she didn't charge towards him. That's the only difference.
We missed Grandpa coming out of his dungeon and through Spot's trap door, and they're like, "Do you hear footsteps?"
Yeah.
And that's when they see Lily down the hallway. Yeah. Grandpa comes out of the cabinet that Herman hid in for the love potion where he disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently that's a trap door that goes to whatever Spot's lair is. Then I think Herman's coming up the stairs, and it's truly terrifying. Somehow the photographer quickly hides in the suit of armor.
Yeah, I was like, what? Because when the guy bumped into the armor and the guy started talking, I was like, wait, is that the photographer? I was like so confused. I was like, when did he get in there?
Lily, Herman, and Grandpa meet up. Herman shoots Grandpa.
Yeah.
No, not him. Them.
And then they end up running out of the house.
They run off the balcony that we've seen a couple times now of Lily and Herman just sitting on. They just straight out it.
Yeah. And then Marilyn finally comes out and was like, what's going on? Like, and she lets them know those are the photographers. Like, no. And they're like, oh, and Herman gets that like pissed off look like he just screwed up again for $5,000, because they keep getting all these money offers and then losing a lot of money too.
Hey, the last episode was his fault.
Yeah. And then we go to
Herman
photographers
tries to shoot himself.
Oh yes, Herman. This is what I was like. Really, we did a fake suicide joke, like, because he like just like slow motion too puts it up to his head. I was like, that's kind of dark, man. Like,
yeah,
I was like, oh, it's really dark. Just interesting. This interesting thing. Side note that I noticed. I was watching something else before I watched this episode last night. And it had a suicide in the episode, but now before the episode play, they let you know, hey, there's a suicide in this episode, and to, the prevention stuff for suicide. And which to me, it kind of was like, oh, great. So now I know someone's going to kill themselves in this episode. You guys just ruined the episode. Like, do that after the episode. Anyways. A little sidebar with the suicide thing. Sorry, I said suicide way too many times.
I get both sides of the argument for that, but
yeah, I understand both. But yeah, so that was my last note. Actually, was Herman's suicide attempt.
We cut back to the editor, pleased with them for catching the average family celebrating Halloween.
No. They go back to the editor first after they run off,
what I was saying.
And then the editor was like, no, you need to go back and get the photo.
Oh, yeah.
Or
Go
you
back,
guys
get the
don't get
job done,
paid.
or you're fired. And that's when we find out they break 4 lenses in the process of trying to get the photo.
Yeah. And then they got one, and then they make it the event, whatever magazine they're
Yeah,
doing.
the front cover. The family reads the Halloween part, and they're like, wait, that's not right. And then Grandpa's like, oh, they switched the photos. Look at this creepy ass family further in.
And then Grandpa's like, can we sue them? It's like, what? Why?
They got that cool prop, though, of the entire cast in a nice, photograph. Photograph. I don't know where I was going with that word, but Herman, we end the show with Herman saying that they need to laugh it off and just be proud of it.
Yeah. Would be the perfect American family by just letting it go.
And I really wonder if the newspaper, but the photograph in general, this was them celebrating, having done 13 episodes altogether, the cast, because again, Beverly Owen left because she was getting married to John Stone, who was writer and producer of Sesame Street, and they were married for quite some time and had 2 kids and stuff. But the cast seemed like they were really close. And you even get that when her replacement Pat comes in next week, because they talk about they talked after the show. They kept in touch, all of them.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah. Just crazy to think too. I mean, 13 episodes, you think it's still a lot. A lot of people are like, oh, it's only 13 episodes. That's still a lot of time on set, because you're working 12 to 16 hours a day on set with these people.
Yeah.
At least the behind the scenes people are working that many hours. I don't know necessarily actors are working that many hours, but they're still around the area and the sound stages and stuff like that.
Filming was a lot different back then. And many of them actually were, they did stick around with the crew long after their scenes were done, just because, some of them helped out even.
I think, I don't know if they were still doing it in the 60s, but a lot of the times actors were like signed with the studio, not necessarily just the production, but they had like so many things to do with each studio and they were signed that way. So it was like, if you worked for Universal, you weren't going and working for like, Warner Brothers at that time. You had to do your contract with Universal before you could even go and do anything else. It's not like nowadays where they can just be in, oh, here's a Disney movie, and now you're in a Warner Brothers movie, and now you're in the Universal movie next week. So, but yeah, I really enjoyed this episode.
Yes.
The story, the everything like that, and the colored version. I don't know. I feel it's not horrible, but it's not. I don't know if I want to watch this entire show, the 64 version show, in color, if you know what I mean.
No,
I wouldn't want that, because I think it takes away a lot of what my imagination can build from it too.
Yeah, I think having seen the 80s version, which is in color, seeing this one is like, it's conflicting with memories in my brain of how such stuff is. And the movies. But
I do recommend, like, if people are watching along with us and or are going to go and watch, for Family Portrait, I would check out the black and white version and the colored version. See which one you like better. I'm probably going to go and watch the black and white as well, just because it's, a 20-minute watch. Who cares? But I wanted to do the colored version for the show for us. And so we could talk about the differencing and the contrasts and stuff like that, and see what we could find, like all the strings that we could find in color. Boy, that just got me. That really annoyed me with the strings.
Yeah. I saw that and I'm like, how could you not notice that?
Right. Yeah. So do you got anything else for me with this episode, man? I know you said that this is the last episode that Marilyn is in. Well, this actress that plays Marilyn.
Yeah, Beverly. The guest list include Fred Beyer as Chip Johnson, Harvey Korman as Lenny Bates, who will return for a future episode, and keen-eyed extreme Star Wars fans will recognize him as possibly one of 3 different characters from the holiday special. And Roy Roberts as Mr. Morgan, who played John Cushing in 5 episodes of the Beverly Hillbillies, and Frank Stevens in 7 episodes of Bewitched.
Nice. I still can't believe that we never got crossovers with some of these shows, man.
It wasn't as big back then, I don't think, which is a shame.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw some with Scooby-Doo. I mean, they met the Addams Family and stuff, but those were owned by Warner Brothers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Josie and the Pussycats, which I'm shocked that, they got an Archie product, but
Well, what are your final thoughts on the episode, since I already gave mine?
Oops. Dropped my phone. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. It was a really great send-off. Yeah. I think I'm going to miss Beverly, but I'm excited to see Pat come in, since she's, the Marilyn most people remember. As sad as that is.
It's kind of like with there's been so many shows that did it. I mean, Bewitched did it with Darren. They replaced him. Nobody gave a fuck or noticed.
No. They actually make fun of that fact in the Will Ferrell movie.
Yeah, they do. That's right. I wonder if people did know this at the time with the Munsters, that they switched the actress out or not.
Having seen a little bit of next week's stuff, probably not.
No. Okay. All right. Well, I guess. Oh, final words, man. Final word.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't.
Go get your
Thank
family
you, Beverly.
portraits. Thank you, Beverly. Yes. All right. Well, with that said, guys, we will catch you next time as we take another stroll down 1313 Mockingbird Lane.
The lesson I want you to learn is it doesn't matter what you look like. You can be tall or short, or fat or thin, or ugly, or handsome, like your father. Or you can be black or yellow or white. It doesn't matter. What does matter is the size of your heart and the strength of your character.